Much is known about Hitler's public life and his actions, but little is known about his personal life and habits. Have you ever stopped to wonder if Hitler had friends? Well, let me tell you, one of his best friends was a little girl he met by chance. It seems completely illogical, doesn't it? But it really happened. Today, I'll tell you about the tragic story of Adolf Hitler's favorite little girl. Take a good look at this photo. One of the figures portrayed is probably familiar to you. The smiling man embracing a child is Adolf Hitler. The child being embraced is called Rosa Bernal, who was 6 years old at the time. The portrait was taken in 1933 by Heinrich Hoffmann and measures 30 by 24 centimeters. Believe it or not, in November 2018, this photo was sold for $11.520 at an auction in the United States. But why does this photo speak so much about Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler is one of the most well-known figures in history, unfortunately remembered as one of the cruelest and most harmful beings to have ever walked this planet. Just mentioning his name or anything related to him evokes disgust in many places around the world. To this day, however, there was a time when Hitler was not seen in this light by people. On the contrary, he was seen as an exemplary leader to be followed. But much of this was nothing more than a strong propaganda created by him and his followers. Hitler used his charm to portray himself as a trustworthy person with genuine intentions. In fact, there was a time when people were so deluded about who Hitler really was that he was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, the man considered responsible for starting one of the greatest wars of all time almost won a peace-related prize. Fortunately, he didn't win, but this fact is still remembered by those who criticize the award. Rosa Bernal Neustadt was born in Dortmund, Germany, on April 20, 1926. She was the only daughter of a doctor who died shortly before her birth. Her mother, Caroline, was a nurse who, after baby's birth, as the girl became known, decided to move to Munich in search of new opportunities. As Rosa grew up, Nazism was on the rise in Germany, and the Nazi Party led by Adolf Hitler was beginning to dominate the country's power. Then came the day when the simple girl's story would intersect with Hitler's. In 1933, during a film's birthday, coincidentally on April 20th, Caroline took her daughter to Hitler's mansion in the Alps. A crowd was gathered outside to greet the German leader and catch a glimpse of him. Even if only for a few seconds, Hitler approached the people to thank them, and at some point, he noticed Rosa and talked to her. It was during this conversation that he discovered that they shared the same birthday. This led him to develop affection for the girl and invite her and her mother to his residence for further conversation. Hitler was enchanted by Rosa's manners and sincerity. It was during this encounter that the photo, which would be sold at an auction decades later, was taken. They agreed to stay in touch, and Hitler authorized that all of Rosa's letters be delivered to him. Thus began a correspondence that would last for years. The letters, usually written by Rosa with her mother's help, addressed Hitler as Uncle Hitler and shared details of their lives while also inquiring about his. Besides Hitler, Wilhelm Bruckner, one of Hitler's closest men who also exchanged letters with the girl, played a significant role in their communication. However, as time passed, Hitler's regime in Germany began to show its true colors. The Nazism started to reveal its anti-Semitic actions, radicalization of speeches, and censorship of thought and expression. This led to concerns about those surrounding Hitler. It was feared that he could be subjected to espionage, sabotage, or even an assassination attempt. Eventually, these concerns led to Rosa's connection to Hitler being severed. In 1938, one of Hitler's secretaries advised him to cut off all communication with Rosa, fearing that their relationship could be viewed negatively by Nazi followers. Reluctantly, Hitler followed the advice, and Rosa was prohibited from visiting her friend. Their contact ceased, and Rosa's fate took a tragic turn. After Hitler stopped talking to her, Rosa contracted poliomyelitis, also known as infantile paralysis, during her childhood. This viral disease affects the central nervous system, causing muscle weakness and paralysis, and back then, it often led to death. At the age of 17, in October 1943, Rosa succumbed to the effects of polio and passed away in a hospital in Munich, 2 years before the end of the war. It's uncertain whether Hitler ever knew about Rosa's fate, but what remains certain is that this story, only made possible through the preserved photo and letters, sheds light on a lesser-known aspect of history.